You're now live, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so good evening. I'm Councillor Chris Payne, Chair of this committee. I would like to inform everybody that the meeting will be broadcast live to the internet via the Council's website and will be capable of repeated viewing. The images and sound recording may be used for training purposes within the Council. In order to ensure that the meeting is managed effectively, can everybody please keep to the following guidelines for speaking? Councillors should only use the raise your hand function to request to speak and only speak when invited to by the chair. Please switch off your camera and microphone when not speaking, and remember to set your mobile phone to silent for the duration of the meeting. Any views expressed by any speaker in this meeting are the speaker's own and they do not necessarily reflect the views of the council. Please can councillors be aware that the webcast will continue to be streamed live 20 seconds after the close of the meeting. This is due to the time delay in transmitting live. I will now confirm the names of the other members of this committee: Councillor Bell, Councillor Clark, Councillor Collins, Councillor Cross, Councillor Gruby, Councillor R. McEwen, Councillor Quinn, Councillor Reddy, Councillor Siddle, Councillor Sizeland and Councillor Joe Taylor. I know we have an apology for Linda Gruby. Do we have any others, Rachel?
No, Chair.
Okay, is anybody else aware of any apologies? No? Okay, so moving on, to receive disclosures of interest of any matters before the committee. Does anybody have any disclosable pecuniary interests or any other interests? No? Okay, thank you for that. And I don't think that we've had any matters referred to the committee under the call-in procedure. I certainly haven't seen any.
None,
okay.
Chair.
Brilliant, thanks Rachel. So the next item on the agenda is pages 3 to 6 of the agenda, which is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Hopefully people have had an opportunity to read those minutes. Has anybody got any questions? Okay, is anybody willing to propose the minutes of the previous meeting? Thank you, Neville, and seconded by Councillor Siddle. The next item on the agenda is the Select Committee work programme, which is on pages 7 to 10. Has anybody got any questions that they would like to raise about those, about the work programme? Just bear with me a second. I think last time we spoke about the work programme, Martin, we were talking about not trying to overload what we had because we had quite a lot going on. I don't think that situation has changed at all, has it?
No, there is a lot going on for sure.
Okay. So if there's no questions about the work programme, are people happy that we note the work programme?
Can you hear me, Chris?
Chair, I think Councillor Siddle's got his hand up.
Sorry, that's my fault because I'm trying to grapple with that and reading the notes at the same time. So, sorry, Ed.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know that we had a very successful meeting, me and Nev, with the officers on economy and growth, and we've come up with quite a good plan for economy and growth for the next 12 months, including some work on the central areas and obviously focusing on the Future High Street Fund project in Buxton, and obviously Bossett Market Hall, which is looking very exciting and got a lot of buzz around it after a lot of people went around and had a look, and been finished to a very high quality, I believe, as well, which is really good. So we've got an exciting year, and we've done a lot of work, and it should be a good programme, but obviously don't want to overload it because the work on the springs is very, very important. So we need to have a lot of focus on that, and obviously we'll work together on that, because at some point there'll need to be a joint meeting between this committee and economy and growth to put the future plans through for it.
I think we discussed that last time, didn't we, Ed? And also, I mean, for this committee, we're going to have a lot of work coming forwards because of the local government reorganisation. So I'm trying to leave some space for some of that. I'm also conscious that we've got an economy and growth coming up, so we can talk about that. There was one element that I sort of picked up recently, just things that local residents were talking about, and that was potentially the design rules for Spring Gardens itself. People were talking about the frontages and the money that we'd spent making some of the shop fronts better, only for some of the shop fronts then to have different shop fronts of those that we might like to have. And I think as part of that Springs development, we should review, given the amount of money that's going into it, we should review the heritage rules that we have for Spring Gardens as well. Joanna, you were next. Councillor Collins. Oh.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask about local government reorganisation, because it looks like November, as far as I know, would be the best hand. Sorry, I just read hand on the thing. Best time to have that, but that slot is quite full already.
Yeah, so there's a slot on the agenda in part 2 for an update. I don't know if you want to say something at this point, Anthony.
Yeah, I was just going to say, although it's not detailed for either the July or September meetings, I expect, based on the timetable for having the final report ready for November, the expectation is that the draft of it should hopefully be available for discussion in September. We've also got a meeting later on this week to look at some of the comms and consultation work that'll be going out, hopefully next week. So hopefully we'll be able to have an update in July and an opportunity for members to sort of comment on the consultation, separate from encouraging you all to try and sort of get people to respond to the consultation when it goes out.
Right, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Quinn. Rachel?
Yeah, sorry, I was just struggling with the microphone. Will we be having information updates about what's going to happen to buildings and assets as we cross over to the new authority?
We did discuss that as part of the joint chair. Sorry, as part of the joint chairs meeting.
Yeah.
I was talking to Martin about the fact that the work that we've got going on assets, what's going to have to happen is the asset subcommittee is now going to have to focus on that as part of the reorg as well.
And will this committee have oversight of that?
Well, it does through the feedback from the subcommittee, so yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
Chair, I was just going to say, we're currently going through the recruitment process, as members will recall, for the additional staff that will help us fully staff up the assets team via Alliance Norse. We're currently going through that recruitment process at the moment. We're hoping that'll be completed within the next month or so, and then we should be in a position to get the working group back together again, initially to have a look at issues around Buxton Town Hall, because we've had some discussions with members from the community around it, but then also start to go through some of the other issues that we've got on the assets list, and also potential for if there's any assets that we may well be looking at wishing to potentially redistribute to some of our partner town and parish councils, but that may well be a little bit further down the list.
Yeah, and I think that was the essence of the discussion we had earlier, Anthony. And there are some dependencies on some other things going on in there. So, for example, the assets associated with Spring Gardens, I think, just always fall into that joint meeting that we have with Economy and Growth. But as you know, I'm very keen to map all the assets as well and see what we can do with whatever new authority there is, so that we can align, because it's very easy to see on DCC's mapping website all of their assets, right down to drain covers. But I always still find it a bit difficult with the High Peak Borough Council assets. But given the fact that we previously discussed we need to get those new staff in place, we'll wait for that, because we do need to have a view of what exactly is transferring and what exactly potentially could other organisations take on, potentially.
Yes, Chair, and there is, of course, there's a little bit of work ongoing with some of the organisations that we're already in partnership with to look at where it's appropriate, extending existing leases and arrangements, particularly where it may be able to help some of those groups and organisations access external funding.
That makes sense. Okay, so I think we're sort of done with the work programme. I am conscious of that conversation we had previously, Anthony, which is everybody's busy and there is a lot going on with the reorg. So to some extent, myself as chair and the other chairs are dependent on people telling us when they're busy. I don't want to overload the work programme only to find out that people say, well, now I'm just completely overloaded. I'd rather they said it, and then it just makes life easier for everybody.
Yeah, hopefully that message is reaching various folk. There's a couple of departments where we're working with the staff team at the moment because there's some other issues aside from LGR related stuff, but we're working through those at the moment to make sure hopefully everyone can be as responsive as possible.
Fab, thanks for that. Okay, so moving on, the next item on the agenda, item 6, is our values and the GROW presentation. And I think that's yourself, Tanya.
Thank you, Chair. I will share my screen so that I can go through the actual presentation. So hopefully everyone can see that now. Thank you. So Alliance Art Culture was a group that was set up to refresh the values and behaviours. So previously, and I think they're about 9-10 years old, we had the choice values. So we felt it was time that we had a good look at the values and behaviours for staff, and we set up numerous workshops. So we worked with Camberg, who are our strategic HR partner, to review and refresh the values and behaviours. We gathered feedback from AMT, from our network. So our network, just for context, is a group of staff. Every service is represented on it from all different levels of the organisation. It's led by Andrew and it meets every quarter. So the network has played a big part in developing these values and behaviours. So what we've come up with, we've developed what we call GROW. So it's a new value described by a statement and accompanied by a set of relatable behaviours. And as part of that, we've designed some new branding for an internal comms campaign. Oh, excuse me, it's not letting me move on. Just bear with me. There we go. So as part of this, we had quite a lot of participation. So we held a number of staff focus groups and invited as many staff as we could speak to. So we had sort of 82 participate in that. We had a member focus group, so a number of members, as you can see, 10 members from across the Alliance were also invited. We had a workshop with Norse because we felt it was important that these values and behaviours extended to our partners. And then there were a number of one-to-one interviews with most of AMT and the directors. So all this work started back in August, September last year. Now these were the original values that were voted for by staff. So we are a team, we are customer focused, we are supportive, and we are flexible. Were the ones that came out top. So these were the top 4 as voted by all the staff. As you can see, there's quite a lot of detail in there. So the initial feedback that we got as we moved forward, that they were a bit lengthy and we needed to refine them to make them a little bit more meaningful and a bit easier to understand, but without losing the information we'd gathered from the consultation process. So we then sort of came back. We'd still got the same headings because that's what the staff voted for, but we made them a little bit more easy to understand. The next part of it, because the one thing that we did feel was that they weren't very memorable, and we didn't feel that we could, staff would automatically recognise what was there. And in the meantime, the LGR process was announced, and we felt we needed to represent that as part of them. So what we did was we condensed them and we took them back to our network, and we took each of the ones that were voted, and we sort of moved them on so that we'd got the support one was all about growing, and flexible was about resilience, customer focus was about being outstanding, and the teamwork was working together. So as part of that, the Our Culture group actually worked on coming up with something that we could sort of make memorable. So we've got we came up with the word grow, and I think the slide speaks for itself. We've got the values. We put statements to those values so that we can identify what they mean. And then we've outlined what that means for staff. So from a behaviour focus. What we did was we built in there the ongoing development that's going to be needed as part of the LGR, because obviously the main thing that we want to do is to recognise and encourage and celebrate the growth and nurture the staff, because we need to put them in the best place going forward as part of the LGR process. We need to build on the resilience and prepare the people for change. We obviously continue to provide outstanding customer experience, and we wanted to work together to create an environment where our people felt appreciated and inspired. So these statements, we've been to the union with the statements, we've fed them back to staff, and they've been. We gave the Our Culture group and the Our Network group a variety of sort of visuals to pick from, and number 1 came out as the top priority. That was the one they visually preferred, with number 5 coming as sort of close second. So we've sort of amalgamated the two, and this is the final branding that has been selected by the group, and we changed the sort of bubbles into leaves, so they became a little bit more. They sort of resembled the tree. We felt that the tree was a visual sort of representation of the area we live in. The green side of it. We felt that the symbol was a symbol of strength, that it symbolises renewal, continuous process of growth and change, and for us to adapt to the changing horizon and representing resilience. So that is what the staff or the group agreed on, and that is the branding that we'll be taking forward. And you'll start to see sort of banners and posters, not sort of paper posters, but visual boards within the buildings. We've had sort of lanyards that we've ordered as well. And as part of the promotion of these values, the new intranet will sort of build on them, and we'll keep promoting them. So these are some of the things that we've already put in place. So the thank yous, the people's pin board to celebrate successes. So we've done a lot of engagement with staff, and the new intranet seems to be going down well. For members, your area is due to be launched in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, that's where we're up to. So happy to take any questions.
Okay, so has anybody got any questions for Tanya? Councillor Collins?
Yes, looking at this I mean, I know how, you know, I worked in an organisation. I know that organisations do things like this, but looking at it from the point of view of a sort of slightly cynical member of the public, which I think many people would be, and saying, you know, there's loads going on, as has been mentioned. People feel very uncertain in general for many reasons. So how is this going to benefit the community, and how's it going to benefit staff? I mean, what's the aim of it, I suppose?
The aim is just a set of values that the staff will adopt, so that, you know, putting the customer at the forefront of what we're delivering is how it will benefit the community, and how we deliver the services. So we're looking at it, it's not just sort of a banner, it is sort of values that we will reflect in the work that we do. But the other side of it is the importance of our staff and valuing them and investing in them, and particularly in light of all the changes that are coming, we felt it was important that we reflected on that and took the staff on that journey with us and put them in the best place for them personally when LGR does come to fruition.
Right. And have the staff, I mean, are the staff appreciating that, do you think? Because obviously quite a lot were involved and they probably talked to their colleagues. It was, as far as you can tell.
Yeah, it was a very positive. We held a number of, as well as the sort of individual consultations we did. We had 2 staff events, one in Buxton and one in Leek. They went down really, really well. Staff were really energised by it. They were really enthusiastic. I'm not one normally for all this sort of, you know, all the fluffy stuff, but it really does make them feel, you know, part of the process, and that was demonstrated with the feedback we got from those events.
Good, thank you.
Councillor Bob McEwen.
Thank you, Chair. I think Sammy has just answered my first point that, you know, was any of the staff sort of not really interested in this with the local government reorganisation? Well, that's been answered. The other one is just excellent working by the officers, and the public never find out about this. But last Monday at Development Control, the 3 officers what was there went well above the call of duty. With whatever could happen did happen, you know, what we didn't expect, and I just think that should be appreciated more, not just by the internal staff. You know, there was a lot of members of the public there who seen what an excellent job they did under very difficult, you know, hard things. I opened the meeting asking for apologies, and the church organ went off upstairs. There was a funeral on we didn't know about, and then you got to bide with me. But the officers that day, somebody got locked in a corridor. You know, absolutely superb. Nobody sees that, does it? It's just a meeting. And I just wish there was some way we could convey that to the wider public. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor McKeon. Councillor Siddle? Ed? Still on mute.
Yeah, it's a bit slow, my computer tonight. Yeah, similar to we've got obviously values at the local authority I work for. We call them CARE values, which is collaborative, ambitious, resourceful, and empowering. And I think it gives the staff a sense of pride for working for an organisation, and it gives you the sense that things are working in the right direction, and it's working for the residents, and also working together as a team, which is really good. So I do think it's good to have the staff involved, and it's good to consult with everyone, because obviously we can impose these from the top, but they may not be bought into. Whereas if you've got staff buying into them, you will get more engagement out of them. So I do think they are really good, and I think it's hopefully stuff that can go forward to the new local authority, whatever that may be.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a comment and a question, Tanya. So I think it's timely, particularly as we move. You know, this you could have the risk of there being a lot of silo working in this authority because we have, Alliance North, we have AES, and we have our core employees. So I think it's really beneficial that they've all got that same focus and they're all, I guess, standing under the same tree, for want of a better metaphor, but you use the tree, yeah. I guess my question is how we, as we go forwards over the next 3 years, just test the mood music against these core principles. I really like that idea that everybody's working together to a common purpose. But there is this thing over the next 3 years that staff will start looking over the fence. So the ones in Staffordshire and Moreland will start looking over to what's happening in Staffordshire, and the ones in Derbyshire will start looking to what's happening in Derbyshire. And also have a bit of an assumption that our standalone organisations, be it Leisure or AES or Alliance, will then start to look at the other local district councils to see whether they can team up and get work in those other places. So I guess the question is, what's your plan to use this as a framework to test that sort of mood music as we go along and readjust around it?
Yeah, well, part of this is obviously there'll be a campaign to promote them internally and with our local authority control companies. We will also be embedding them as part of the appraisal process. So we'll be looking at, how we sort of take that forward, and they'll be very prominent on our intranet. And what we'll do every year is we'll use the network that we've got, because that's an ongoing network that's now established. And the idea is that we get the feedback and we promote various different ones through the network into the service areas and use our comms channels to keep them alive. But we'll review them. We'll have a look, make sure there's one that they're working and they're being embedded, and two, as we've sort of changed the focus slightly about the staff and the future, we're just going to have to keep an eye on that now, because it's going to be important that we, retain our staff and put them in the best place that they can be, and that I think will help them buy into the process.
I guess I sort of wonder, and it's just something for you to think about, is whether or not over the next 3 years, you just do some regular sampling. You know your one sheet that was very simple. It had the grow on it, and it's only got about 5 or 6 things in each silo.
Yeah.
Is whether or not you just did a random sample of the employees and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think this is working? Just something very simple. Because I have this worry that it's a good piece of work, but people are going to start to drift. And it's just having that connection that you can come to us and say, well, rather than, just what I feel, we went and sampled 30 staff and, roughly they said it was as good as it was before, or they're starting to see some of the collaborative working drifting, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, not an act, just something for you to think about, Tanya.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on Grow? No? Oh, you've done a fabulous job, Tanya. That was it. Three inputs. Okay. Great. Okay. So Tanya's going to leave us for part 2, but thanks, Tanya.
Okay.
And
thank you.
We look forward to an update in the future.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So item 7, have we had any questions referred to the executive member or member services? I don't think we have.
No, Chair.
Okay,
No,
brilliant. And then item 8, which is the exclusion of the press and public. So to resolve that the press and public be excluded from the meeting during consideration of the following items of business, as there may be disclosure of exempt information as defined in Part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. So I think following that, Rachel, do you want to stop the recording?